Welcome to our fun little study group for PP 5340 Introduction to Public Policy and Management. Today, we're diving into the readings for Section 02, Integrating AI in Government.
So, here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll get a big picture map of all the research out there. Then we'll dive into the whole promise versus peril debate around AI. After that, we're going to zoom right in to see what it all looks like from inside government, figure out what really makes people want to adopt AI, and then we'll zoom back out to look at the road ahead. Let's get into it.
The big question we're really trying to get at today is this. When you get past all the hype and the buzzwords, what does AI actually mean for how governments do their jobs and make decisions? But to get there, we got to make sure we're all on the same page about what we're even talking about.
Right, so to understand how AI could change things, we need a really solid definition of public governance. Our first source, a 2021 paper by Zuiderwijk, Chen, and Salem, gives us a perfect place to start. They define it as all the rules and actions related to public policy and services. Simple, right? But super powerful. This is the very thing we're looking at.
Now, that first paper from Zuiderwijk, Chen, and Salem, it's what you call a systematic literature review. The best way to think about it is like our map of the territory. It scanned basically all the academic research to tell us what we know, and, maybe even more importantly, what we don't know yet about AI and public governance.
So what's this map show us? Well, it reveals a field that's still pretty new. A lot of the work is just conceptual, full of big ideas, but not a whole lot of hard-tested evidence. It's also really qualitative. It tends to borrow examples from the private sector, and it hasn't really built its own solid theories yet. The big takeaway here is simple. We're still in the very early days of this whole thing.
And across all of that early research, the Zuiderwijk review found this one central tension that just kept popping up over and over again. The incredible potential promise of AI on one side versus some really, really significant perils on the other. It's a classic two-sided coin.
Okay, so on one hand, the promise is huge. We're talking greater efficiency, better public services, and smarter decision-making. AI could just wipe out tedious tasks and crunch data in ways humans just can't. But then, on the other hand, the challenges are just as big. We're talking major hurdles like bad data, massive ethical questions about bias and privacy, the whole black box problem where we don't even know how an AI made a choice, and these fundamental questions of accountability, like who's responsible when an algorithm messes up.
And this brings us to a really critical question. The academic view gives us this 30,000-foot perspective of promise and peril. But what's it actually feel like on the ground? What do the public servants, the people who would actually be using this technology, what do they think about all of this?
To get that on-the-ground intelligence, we're going to turn to a 2022 study from Michael J. Ahn and Chen. They went out and surveyed U.S. government employees directly to get their perspective on AI. So let's see what they found.
The first thing they found is, well, it's a big one. A massive majority, 77% of the government employees they surveyed agree that the government should consider using AI to improve public services. That's not a small number. That is a powerful signal of buy-in from the very people who would be on the front lines.
And they have some specific ideas about where it could help the most. Employees see the biggest potential impact in those really technical, infrastructure-heavy areas like science and energy, communications, and transportation. They clearly see AI as a tool that can make a real difference in some pretty complex policy areas.
Now, Ahn and Chen found that this willingness to adopt AI wasn't just random. As they say right here, it was contingent upon a series of positive and negative perceptions. So what that really means is the key is figuring out what those perceptions are that shape their opinions.
And this takes us right to the heart of the Ahn and Chen study. What are the specific things that influence whether a public servant says yes or no to bringing AI into their work? What really moves the needle for them?
The first major finding is that an employee's long-term, big-picture view of AI is a huge predictor of their support. It's not just about the tool they might use today, it's about what they believe this technology means for the future of, well, everything.
So specifically, support for AI shoots up if an employee believes AI will ultimately be good for humanity, if they think it's going to one day surpass human intelligence, and this one's critical, if they trust that AI can eventually make solid ethical judgments. It's all about that long-term vision.
Okay, so that's the big picture outlook. The second key driver is way more immediate and practical. It's all about direct, hands-on experience with the tech.
And this really points to a simple but incredibly powerful idea. Familiarity builds confidence.
The study found that employees who've actually used some form of AI in their jobs are way more likely to support using it more broadly. In this case, it seems like seeing is believing.
But this study also dug up something totally unexpected, a real head-scratcher, a paradox that kind of challenges what you might assume.
Okay, get this. If an employee believed that AI would make government more transparent, it actually made them less willing to support it. Kind of weird, right? The authors think this might be about a cultural resistance to opening up how things work inside government, which is a classic challenge in public management. It's a fascinating and maybe a little worrying finding.
All right, so let's zoom back out. We've got the academic map from Zuiderwijk, Chen, and Salem that shows us a brand new field full of promise and peril. And we've got the on-the-ground view from An and Chen, showing what actually drives adoption among employees. So what's next? What's the road ahead?
The Zuiderwijk paper basically lays out a research to-do list. First, the field needs solid theories that are actually built for the public sector, not just borrowed from business. Second, we need research on what a good implementation plan even looks like. Third, we have to investigate the best ways to manage those huge risks we talked about: bias, privacy, fairness. And finally, we really need to understand what happens when these tools get scaled up across entire government agencies.
And all of this leaves us with one final, crucial question. These readings make it crystal clear that AI isn't just another IT upgrade. It's not like getting new software. It has the potential to become a new form of governance itself, fundamentally changing how we make decisions and deliver services. So the real question for all of us in public policy is, are we actually prepared to manage that transformation?